So a central feature of Holocaust scholarship is not simply about remembrance and acknowledgement and mourning and grief. It involves an assiduous effort to explore and name and point to the circumstances, trends, events, sensibilities and movements that result in genocide. So happens that I'm a scholar, a Holocaust scholar. What that means is that I follow Holocaust scholars. I've long, for example, on my Facebook feed, been pointing to the recent work of Yale professor Timothy Snyder, who came up with a notable a list, I think it might have been a year or so ago, outlining the recognizable steps that prefigure, that presage genocide. His work's being echoed by other Holocaust scholars. There was a woman Holocaust scholar, I forget her name just now, who is echoing his words when she said a couple of days ago that this notion that we're looking for the signs of the beginnings of Holocaust and genocide is absurd. We're already in the thick of it. It's already happening. Did you know that a third of all the Jews murdered by the Third Reich were children? I'm here at Occupy ICE in Portland today, and I've been sort of looking around for a sort of an ecclesiastical contingent here, not least because there's a perspective and a form of language that the non-secular, non-materialist community have at their disposal that's very useful for describing the times and circumstances of which we're a part. A fundamental insight of wisdom traditions, for example, is that evil's defining feature is that it disguises itself as good, and that it very often lives more easily hidden within institutions than it does within individuals. This is wholly related generally to the slip into the genocidal impulse, which ultimately is recognized as a form of essentially rather sort of strange religious terminology, but a form of demonic possession. The Jewish philosopher Arthur Koestler talks about this slip into self-transcending devotion to collectively shared belief systems, mass psychosis, what Václav Havel referred to as a form of mass insanity, the effort to reduce the torture of the ego by somehow addressing its personal anxieties, by directing shadow at the other. One of the defining qualities of genocides that scholars acknowledge is that the people who commit genocide generally enjoy it. There's a sense of a holy righteousness, a blind fervor that totally rationalizes and excuses inhumane, sadistic behavior. We're seeing that to this day. We're seeing it in ICE. We're seeing it in other institutions that are being co-opted in this form of mass insanity. Whereas Occupy ICE might seem like a rather marginalized affair, at least it's an effort to insist on the urgency and gravity of that which we're currently facing as a culture, and the denial totalizing denial that largely defines our response to current trends. Hölderlin, the German poet, said, "Danger itself invites the rescuing power." Well, things are getting very, very, very dangerous indeed.